Well, hi, and welcome to another LRCC Soundbite. Have you ever been in one of those situations where someone you know surprises you and you see a new side to them? Maybe they're not quite the person you thought they were. Getting to know someone can be a bit of a journey of discovery, can't it? Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a not so good way, but there's no doubt that the more we get to know someone, the more we start to understand what makes them tick and what drives them. Last week, I talked a little bit about Jesus choosing some apprentices or disciples to travel with him and learn from him. That was right at the very start of the time when he was travelling and teaching around the area of Galilee in Israel. People were starting to hear that there was a new teacher around. And as probably happened with most new teachers, they were curious to see what would be different about this one. Would he be someone who just came up with the same old ideas as other people? Or would he say something new? Would he be radical? Would he encourage people to rebel against the Romans who occupied the land? Or would he encourage peaceful living in harmony with them? It soon became clear that Jesus was unlike any of the other teachers they'd seen. His teaching was engaging, and for a relatively young man, he had a depth of authority about him that just seemed to go well beyond his years. He didn't just talk about the past and what had been said thousands of years previously, but he brought it up to date. He explained it in new ways that were relevant to society, the place they were living in, the time they were living in. And then he started doing things that weren't possible, signs and miracles that were not of this world. People were more than just a little curious. Who was this Jesus? Some people were cautious. After all, many hundreds of years ago, God had warned the nation to be careful of people who claimed to come with messages from God. They were warned to make sure that they only followed the messages that were genuinely from God, and to ignore people who made up their own messages but claimed to be from God. That can be a bit of a hard ask. So people did then, I think, just as we still do today. We compare the message with what we know of God. We look at what it says in the ancient books. And is this message we're getting something that seems to make sense? Does it fit? And Jesus' messages did make sense, but they were powerful and they were new. Jesus got people excited and they wanted to hear more. So that was then, but what about today? What do what do you want to hear from Jesus? How can we still hear from him today? Well, I could tell you the easiest way is probably just to read the Bible. But another way is to listen to people talk about what they've read in the Bible, and maybe even hear some of their stories of their lives as Christians. It's worth saying, if you live near us and don't have a copy of the Bible, do let us know. If you'd like one, we will happily drop a free copy round to you. I suppose a question you might ask me is, how relevant is Jesus today? After all, if he came along to make the ancient writings relevant to Israel 2,000 years ago, then maybe it is a little out of date today. But I think that's where Christianity is a little different. You see, Jesus might have lived all that time ago, but he's still alive and he's still living today and still speaking to us today. That might sound a bit odd, and I've not got time to explain it all here, so I'll happily tell you more. Just get in touch. But for now, let me just encourage you to keep on listening to these soundbites or anything else that you find from Christians. I'll tell you plenty of stories from Jesus' life, but I'll also try and make them relevant to what it means to us today. After all, Jesus summed everything he said up into two things. He said, love God and love other people. And if we can bring just a little bit of that to this world, then surely it'll be a little bit of a better place. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.